Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about how to build iOS apps on Windows computers. So Xcode, the integrated development environment that you need to build iOS apps, only runs on Mac OS. So what are your options if you own a Windows computer? Let's look at option 1, and probably the easiest one that I'd recommend. You can simply rent a Mac online. So there are companies out there that run Macs in big computer rooms, and they sell network access to them. So you can rent one for about 20 bucks a month, and then you can install Xcode on that, remotely access it from your Windows computer, and develop like that. So there's some downsides to this. You can't actually connect your physical iPhone to the remote application, and you'll have to develop basically all with a simulator. But other than that, it's like a super low barrier to entry for you to get started, just for a pretty low price as well. Now the second option I want to throw out there is you can rent a physical MacBook. So some computer stores in your area, like local Mac repair type shops, or even like computer cafes, can have MacBooks that you can rent either by the hour or by the day, and then you can sort of get your feet wet in developing iOS apps. Now, onto the third option, if you really don't want to rent a physical or a Mac in the cloud, you can run a virtual machine on your own Windows computer. So the most popular software for this is VirtualBox, and then you'll be able to run Mac OS within your Windows OS. And that way you can sort of install Xcode in your virtual machine, and you'll be able to code and debug almost like you had a Mac OS on your hardware itself. Now the fourth option is to build a Hackintosh, meaning to dual boot Mac OS and Windows on the same computer. So this takes a little bit of technical know-how and quite a bit of time. And also your hardware must be compatible in order for you to build a Hackintosh. Now this is a lot of effort. I really don't recommend it if this is sort of like your only goal is to build iOS apps. Building a Hackintosh is a huge amount of troubleshooting and debugging just for you to build iOS apps. So I sort of recommend another method. Unless you're super into building your own computer and that's something you find interesting, then this could be a good option for you. Now the fifth option is to use an online Swift sandbox. So there are online Swift sandbox that allows you to code in the Swift programming language right in your browser. So you won't be able to code a full iOS app from this, but it's a good way to get started into Swift programming. Apple even released an app called Swift Playgrounds on the iPad that you can sort of get started without a Mac computer. And the next option is to use third-party libraries. So there's a lot of third-party libraries that allow you to write iOS apps without Xcode at all. So one of them is React Native by Facebook, another one is Flutter that is made by Google, and another one is Xamarin that's owned by Microsoft. So there's a couple different options out there, and some of them you write in JavaScript, some of them you write in Dart, some of them you write in C#, and that sort of circumvents and goes around the problem of you needing Xcode. Now these libraries aren't perfect, and they're definitely in active development, and every time Apple releases a new update to their iOS operating system, these platforms usually lag a little bit behind, but this is a good way for you to get started if you just can't run Xcode. Now the last option, and probably the option you don't want to hear, is you can just simply buy a used Mac. This is the simplest option, and it'll definitely get out of your way of like all these weird Windows problems that you have to deal with. And you can think of it as like an investment into your hobby of developing apps, or if you're looking to switch careers, into your career of developing iOS apps. You could buy the cheapest Mac and it will work. Like the Mac Mini will work for developing iOS apps. You could buy a Mac Mini secondhand off eBay or Craigslist for like 300, 400 bucks, and that will also work for app development. And I think if you even buy an older one, it could go as low as like 200, 100 bucks. So don't think you need the fastest MacBook out there to develop iOS apps. Any MacBook will pretty much do. So if you guys want to see the full breakdown of each of these options, go to zero.appstore.com/windows. I'll have each of these options laid out with further details so you can sort of make the right choice for you. Thanks for watching.